Okay. Alrighty. So this is slated to be the last segment on Kibud Avim, on honoring a parent, our sixth segment. I want to touch on some of the slightly more complex things that come up. So I want to give some broad halakha concepts, broad principles, and then we'll talk about some specifics and put our heads together. So we have a major discussion between, you know what? Okay, first I want to just make the dedication. Azik, welcome. We're dedicating tonight's class to the Refuah Shlema of a little boy, Yitzhak ben Hannah. From what we understand,
I saw a different name, but let me see. I look like they added a name.
Zeke. Okay, Zeke forwarded me the information. I just want to make sure we have it correctly. Yitzhak ben Hannah. No, there was a change.
Something Hannah. There was like a name.
Hold on. So this child is going in for surgery tomorrow.
It was, wait, I
So-
have the name if you want it. It's Yitzhak ben Chanon Chana.
Yitzhak ben Hanon Hannah. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to dedicate the class to his Refuah Shlema, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should watch him and protect him and take the zchut of our learning and bring it to him to bring to a quick and complete recovery. And tomorrow in particular, everyone should pray and learn and do mitzvot for his complete and quick recovery. So we have a question. We have a question, a general question in halakha. The question is, do mitzvot sichot kavanah or not? When you're doing a mitzvah, when a person is doing a mitzvah, does the person have to be focused on what he or she is doing in order to get credit, so to speak, to fulfill the mitzvah or not? What would you say? Ha'im mitzvot sichot kavanah or lo?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Jamie is saying yes, that mitzvot tzrichot kavanah, meaning that when a person is doing a specific mitzvah, he has to be focused on that, and he has to be intentful. He or she has to be thinking about what he or she is doing. Okay.
So I once asked you, I got up in the morning and I was in a real crabby mood, and because I had to go to exercise early in the morning and I needed something to perk me up. So I decided to cross this woman the street, go over to her, because I like used it to pep myself up. Let me do a mitzvah and I'll feel good about it.
Right.
It didn't work.
Why not? Oh, I don't know.
I wasn't really doing the mitzvah. I was just.
Okay, I don't know. So the intention wasn't really the intention.
There was no intent there. I was just gonna do it. She didn't even want to cross the street. I made her.
Oh, you made that. Beautiful.
I'm okay. I go, no, let me cross you.
So the question is, to your point, if a person is doing a mitzvah mindlessly, right, which happens very often, does a person fulfill the mitzvah or not? The answer is yes.
You
The
told me, yeah.
person does fulfill the mitzvah, right? We learned this one
Yes.
before, different context.
It doesn't
But
seem.
ideally, the person does the mitzvah with intent, with focus, being in the moment, in the action. Okay, so person does the mitzvah in the moment, in the action. So mitzvah lo tzricha kavanah. A mitzvah doesn't need to have my intention and focus, but to the extent that it does, it's performed on the level that it's meant to be performed on. Okay, so now, in terms of our context, you have mom asks for something and dad asks for something. What mom asks for, she cares about. What dad asks for, he really doesn't. And you're pretty clear that he really doesn't get any from it, doesn't get any benefit from it. It's just a request. Now, mom and dad ask for the same thing ask for two different things at the same time. You know that mom cares a lot about what she requested, and dad doesn't care about what he requested. Which one do you do and why? And think about what we said a minute ago. Which one would you do and why? What do you say? Let's go back a step. We said that the primary purpose of Kibud Avayim, of honoring a parent, was self-development, was personal growth, right? That's the primary purpose. For me to become more of the person that I need to be. And in that sense, as a result of that, to build my life, to have a richer or emotionally beautiful life, a longer life, right? As a result of being in better spirits and a better mindset, right? As we've talked about. So over here, our rabbis say something very interesting. If dad doesn't really care about his request and mom really cares about hers, my intention in doing the mitzvah is paramount. So my intention lines up with mom's request. And therefore, I do what mom asked for rather than what dad asked for. Because if he's asking for something capriciously, carelessly, without any real care if this happens or not, then my approach in doing it is not going to be very heartfelt. It's not going to be very committed. And therefore, because the goal of Kibud Avayim, of honoring a parent, is my personal growth, right in line with respecting and serving my parent, I'm obligated to do what mom asked me to do rather than dad. You with me? You got the steps? I want to recount the steps. Step A, ideally, hey Carol, nice to have you back. Ideally, mitzvot tzrichot kavanah. Nice to have you back. It's mitzvot, it's best to do a mitzvah with kavanah, with intent, with being present, growing from it, thinking about it, becoming different as a result of it. That's the ideal way to do a mitzvah. If I can't do it that way, should I do it anyway? Of course. Good. Drop down. Mom asked for something and dad asked for something. Okay? What mom asked for, she sincerely wants. What dad asked for, I know he doesn't want. He doesn't really care about. So my effort in fulfilling mom's need is going to be a much more heartfelt, present in the moment effort. And therefore, I have to disrespect, in quotation marks, my father, who my mother and I both are obligated to respect, and serve the needs of mom and not dad. Because I'm serving the needs of mom, I'm invested in it because she's invested in it. You with me?
Yep.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Now, what about if, just a side question, a related question. What if dad can't express what he wants, but I know what he wants, or I know what he needs? Now, from a moral point of view, there's no question that if I know what dad needs, even if he doesn't express it, I should do it. I should take care of it. The question is, did I fulfill a mitzvah by doing it? If I take care of a need of mom or dad that they haven't articulated, they haven't asked me, but I have an assumption, I have a sense that they need this. Again, from a moral point of view, from an ethical point of view, did I do the right thing? Of course I did. But the question becomes, did I fulfill the mitzvah? Because the mitzvah is based on fulfilling a request of the parent, right? Listening to what they asked me to do, honoring what they expect me to do. Yeah?
But 1 minute, but standing up, if they walk in the room, that's not honoring a request.
That falls under the general rule of fearing a parent. So that's a general headline that has to be kept all the time. So they don't have to ask about that. That's already a given, but you're right. They don't have to ask for that.
So wouldn't this be a little bit of the same, that it would be a given that you would tend to their needs?
Excellent. So it is a given that you tend to their needs. And even though they didn't request it, even though it's a halachic technicality, that they didn't request it, doesn't matter. Once I fulfill an unspoken need, I'm in the criteria, in the guideposts of Kibud Abayim, of honoring a parent. Okay? Fine. Okay, let's go to another area. What if dad asks his daughter to hold off on getting married because mom is gone and he's alone and he needs someone to take care of him?
Yikes.
What do you do? So she has her own needs, and opportunities, and responsibilities, and dad has his needs. What would you do in that case? Where do you think the halacha comes down in that case?
I particularly think that getting married comes first before that, and
Why is that?
because that's what our religion is based on, getting married, Peru, boo. I mean, that's what I feel like.
Excellent. Any other thoughts?
I think that she should get married because it's her life. And what if, for example, he doesn't want to wait?
Right.
She loses her opportunity to get married. It's not right.
Very good. So she's explicitly going against the wishes of her father by getting married, right? Her father explicitly asked her to please not get married and take care of him. Yeah?
I think
Very
that's being
nice.
selfish.
What?
I think it's being selfish.
Okay.
Well, she could also get married and take care of him. Why does she not get married?
So Jamie's saying, get married and take care of him. Okay, but that wasn't the father's request, but that's that's an important point. So our rabbis say, as you guys are saying, that in this case, her needs trump her parents' need or her father's need. And she should absolutely not put off a marriage. And in fact, the rabbis go in length about this, how she should absolutely not put it off. So now listen to the scenario here. You're talking about a young lady who really, not to be cynical, but takes what we're learning very, very seriously. And her dad is alone, and asked her, please take care of me. And she cares. She loves her father, of course, like everybody does. But she also is very, very sensitive to the halakha. But the halakha comes in exactly where you guys are saying. In this case, it's absolutely no go. Absolutely no go. The daughter has an obligation to get married. She should get married sooner rather than later. And a version of Jamie's point, what she should make sure to do is to find someone to take care of the father. And then to the extent that she can take care of the father appropriately without lessening her care for her husband, then she picks it back up. And this brings in another core Torah concept, a general concept, and it's a very important concept to know, particularly for the people on this class. And it's summarized with a slogan: Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin litbatel mimena. So our rabbis say that no one has the obligation to finish everything, but they also don't have the privilege of walking away. And this is a perfect example of that. You have a child who may have been caring for her father when she was 14, 15, 16, whatever her ages were, and now she's ready to get married. So she's stopping something she was doing. Didn't she obligate herself? Didn't she make a commitment? Absolutely. But the Torah weighs down very strongly on this point, and it's very important. I'm going to give you a few other examples, that we need to know when to move on from something. It's absolutely critical that at certain points in our lives, we say, I'm done here. But what do you mean? Isn't there still a need here? There's still a need. But if when halacha or when it comes to a point where halacha is compromising me, then it stops. So lo alecha hamnacha ligmor. Nobody has the obligation to see everything through to the last dot. V'lo ata ben chorin yifater mimenu. But you also can't just walk away. So, for example, the classic case is with chesed. Let's say somebody has been working with in Bikkur Cholim for a number of years, or whatever it might be, right? And let's say that person is a captain or has a number of cases, or one case, and at a period of time, the person begins to feel that he or she is being sucked into this thing, and they can't breathe anymore, and they've lost a sense of themselves at that point. They have the absolute Torah mandated obligation to quit. But once again, this person is still in pain. It doesn't matter. My blood is redder, and I must do what I must do, and that I must come first. Okay? People make the mistakes. Thanks for your comment. People make mistakes of saying, well, you know what? This chesed project is dependent on me. And you know what? It could be dependent. This, and then it becomes chesed gone too far. So this is a classic case where someone had made a commitment to care for somebody else. And over here, you're really compounding the issue because the person that this young lady was caring for was her dad. And he needs her care now more than ever before. But she's at a marriageable age and she needs to get out. And like Sarah said, to begin to build her own life. But how could she leave dad? The answer is she must, but she also has to do everything in her power to be the shaliach, to be the messenger of getting him the continued care he needs. But at the end of the day, she comes first. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind. Okay, so far?
Yeah, Ricky, doesn't it say somewhere in Bereshit that a child has to leave his parents' house and go off?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Sounds like that's a big obligation. What if the father doesn't like the husband that she's married?
Okay, beautiful. We're gonna get into that now, Sarah. Excellent. We're gonna get into that. Okay, great. So what we said so far is that mitzvot should be done intentfully and intentionally. And therefore, if dad is asking me something that he doesn't really care about, and mom is asking me to do something that she does care about at the same time, because I know mom cares about this thing, and therefore I'm going to be more intentionally involved in doing the mitzvah than I would be for what dad is requesting, even though typically dad comes before mom. In this case, mom's request comes before dad's, because I will do it more intentfully and I will grow more as a result of doing it. Second general concept that we're touching on tonight, and it should be applied to everything, particularly for a group like this, people who care about people, who've been very involved in chesed, who dedicated years or decades of their lives to caring for other people. If the point comes when the person himself is swallowed up somewhat by it, the person has the halachic obligation to step away. So we can't, there was this wonderful guy in Sharet Zion for many years who took care of his mother his whole life and never married. And then his mother passed away and he was already not young anymore. He was in his 50s. And there was nothing left for him. It was heartbreaking to see, because over a relatively short period of time, his health dramatically deteriorated and he passed. Okay, that was an extreme case. But when we take chesed too far, where we give up a sense of self, that's not what the Torah mandates. So it's a very important awareness. You don't have the obligation to complete something, but you don't have the obligation to walk away. So invest fully until it comes to a point where you may be compromised and then stop. Good?
Like you Patch Adams, remember the movie?
Yeah, it's Patch Adams. Beautiful. Remember the Patch Adams movie with Robin Williams? Anybody
No.
see it? Huh? Remember, Sarah? So
No, I
Patch
wasn't.
Adams, remember it? It was fantastic. That was a case of chesed gone too far. That was the classic case of chesed gone too far. Okay, great. So somebody brings home this a nice young lady that he wants to marry, and mom and dad are not happy. Now what? So we talked about in our lead up to this, we said, well, on the one hand, their requests are paramount. On the other hand, my needs are paramount, right? A person can't go so far in fulfilling his parents' wishes that he obviates himself, that he gives up on himself. So what do you do here? So Chama comes out, there's certain things he comes out hands down and he says, nothing to talk about. For example, he says if somebody is coming from a different kehillah, one person is Ashkenaz and one person is Sephardic. One person is this community of Ashkenaz or this community of Sephardi versus another one. Said nothing to talk about. If that's the parent's objection, that objection is not considered an objection. It's very interesting that the objection of being from outside a particular community, halachically, is not considered an objection. Fine. What is considered an objection? So the rabbis use the term hagun. If the person is refined. Now, what does hagun or refined mean? So the rabbis say a very interesting thing. They say, generally speaking, if the person is refined, we're going to define it in a couple of minutes. If the person is refined, even if the parents don't want her or him, the son goes against the wishes of the parents and marries her. If the person is hagun, if the person is, let's call it refined, for lack of a better English word. Good. So what are the core components of that? The rabbis mentioned a number of things in the context of a lady, let's say, that she keeps Torah, generally speaking, that she's a modest person, generally speaking. But then they go for the jugular and they say that the key defining element in another human being is their midot, is their character traits. The key defining element in another person is his attributes, is his kindness, is his generosity, is how he answers a question, is how he speaks to another human being, is how he cares for other people. So the midot of the person are the trump card. So the rabbis say, if the person is less keeping of mitzvot, but a fine person from the perspective of midot, of good character traits, then the child can go against the wishes of the parents and marry her. Now,
the only issue is, Ricky, where does the parents' wisdom and advice overturn the kid's decision? And what does it say about respecting the parents' decision? You just made a statement that if the person's right, but is there any reference to the parents' insight?
Absolutely. So let's go step by step. Beautiful, Aaron. Let's go step by step. So there's an adage within Torah learning that you judge a young lady by her mother's brothers.
Really?
Yeah. You judge a young lady, I'm thinking about my brother-in-law right as I'm speaking. You judge a young lady by her mother's brothers. How does this make any sense?
A mother's brothers.
A
Wow.
mother's brothers.
Glad you say that.
You measure the daughter by her uncles from her mother's side.
Sephardic
there-
halakha? Is that Sephardic
That's
halakha?
everybody's halacha. Talk to me. Why do you think?
A mother's brothers.
Okay, step by step. Come on. Elaine, what do you say? Why do you think the mother's brothers?
I'm not sure.
All right, think about it. Think about it. Any suggestions? Why the mother's brothers? First of all, what role does the mother play? What role does the mother play in the family?
Big role.
She is the family, right? She's
Right.
the builder of the family. She's the foundation of the family. She really establishes the core values of the family. The father doesn't. The father may establish the religious values of the family, but the core family values, the core human values are established more by the mother than the father. That's accepted in Judaism top to bottom. That the primary person in shaping the child is the mother, not the father. Good. Now, if that's true, so then look at this bride to be's mother and see what she's like. And if she's a good lady and she has a
Right.
good name, then assume that the daughter is going to be good. Why do you look to our brothers?
Right.
Right.
What do you
Yeah,
say?
that's a curveball. Why?
Yeah, there you go.
Why don't you look at her sisters?
Correct.
Why don't you look at our sisters, David? Good. Come on.
Why-
Why do you look at our brothers?
Because they're the foundation of the family.
What's that?
They're the foundation of the family. The girls could sway a little.
Okay, so who's the foundation? Good, Elaine, who's the foundation?
The men.
Okay. So, excellent. So why don't I look to the bride's father? You're right. Why don't I look to the bride's father?
Because she grew up with her brothers. I don't know.
She
Oh,
grew up
beautiful,
with her
David.
Mother.
Beautiful,
She
David.
grew up more with her mother.
Huh?
Because the
Say that
bride
again?
grew up with her mother, following more
Right.
mother's ways.
So the bride grew up primarily with her mother. Good. But we say that the brothers express the core family values of the mother, maybe even more outwardly than the mother does. And therefore, the
No, but what
mother
about-
may be,
There with the father. Why the brother and not her father?
I'm telling you why.
Father.
I'm telling you why. I'm giving you the logic. It's
Yeah.
a little bit of a trip. You got to work on it a little bit, but think about it. The premise is that the core developer of the family is the mother. She's the foundation of the family. The core values are going to come from the mother. The religious framework and the Torah values probably come more from the father, generally speaking. Okay. So say that this young lady, if she's in consideration, should be judged by her mom,
Right.
right? If the mother is the one who gave us our core stuff here, let the mom be the barometer, right? But the rabbis say differently. They say the ones who will express the midot of the family are the mother's brothers, because the mother
Wow.
may be constrained in her actions, or you may not see her actions.
Wow.
So the brothers grew up with their sister, this bride to be's mother. These were brothers and sisters. They grew up in a house with certain values, and therefore, those are the values you want to gauge. But the mom may not be showing them in public. Who's going to be showing them more in public? The brothers. They're out, they're in business, maybe more professions. I don't know what it might be. But the consensus of the rabbis is that the mother's brothers will demonstrate that family's values more overtly than the mother will.
But wait, which brother?
Which
What if
brother?
one brother is religious and the other brother's not?
Okay, and beautiful, David. It's not about religious. It's not about religious. Now, here's another core principle that the rabbis hold. And listen to the words in Hebrew, it's beautiful. And again, these are things, try to own them. Hebrew, English, whatever's most comfortable. Midot ovrot b'Yerusha, deot lo ovrot b'Yerusha. Midot, core character traits. Core character traits pass on from generation to generation. It's a beautiful premise in Judaism. Someone's core character traits, they naturally flow to their children. If someone really cared about certain things and lived those things and expressed those beautiful attributes, they naturally flow into the children. And you don't have to worry about those things. They're going to be there. Okay, there are exceptions, there are always exceptions. But generally speaking, those are going to be there. They ought, but ideas, opinions, lo ovrot. They ought, Jewish ideas, Torah-based ideas, maybe they pass, maybe they don't. So it's a tremendous piece of advice that the rabbis are giving. They're saying the quality of a person as exhibited by mom primarily, and of course dad secondarily, mom and her brothers, and then dad, that's going to pass from one generation to another subliminally, covertly, without any real effort, because that's who the person is. She didn't know how to do it any differently. They don't know how to do it any differently. This kid doesn't even know how he picked up those beautiful midot or whatever types of midot. He just picked them up because that's what it was. But they ought, how religious a person is, how he looks at this mitzvah, how he keeps that mitzvah, that can change with time.
Right, but the bottom line, Ricky, if the kid doesn't buy into that program, is the kid wrong?
What do you mean? Which kid buying into the program?
The kid's he's in love now. He's getting married. The parent says, I don't like the deal, whatever those reasons. I don't like the mother's brother or whatever the connection. Now the kid does what he wants.
Right.
Is
Okay,
he-
let's
is he-
get there in a couple of minutes. We'll get there in a couple of minutes. We'll get there in a
Fine.
couple of minutes. So the core value to think about is what are the midot of this family? And what are the character traits of this family? Not the religiosity, but the character trait. What's the level of kindness, humility, generosity, honesty? Those are what the rabbis highlight, not the religiosity. It's very interesting.
Right,
When they
yeah,
say
okay.
okay, good.
Got it, yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
But
scrap
by the way,
it, not to shelve the religiosity. We're going based on what they feel about the girl or guy or whatever is involved.
Right, very good. So when I was growing up and we were getting religious, most of my friends were Ashkenaz, were not from the community. And we used to say when everybody started dating and stuff, that they had a thermometer. What was a thermometer? A thermometer was this checklist, and literally, my friends,
How
had
Jewish
checklists
you are.
on how religious the person was.
Wow.
Now, our perspective always was, people grow and change at different points in their lives because they grow and change religiously. There's no hard set thing, but the person is a quality person. If his character traits are excellent, you're making a great bet. So, Erwin, to your point, what's the halakha? The halakha is as follows. Oh, but before that, you know what? I want to raise one other point. So, Serene, you should be jumping all over this. You probably will in a few minutes. But who is the blatant biblical exception here?
I guess Esav.
Okay, well, give me somebody on the female side.
This thing.
Rivka.
Rivka, perfect. Rivka is the blatant opposite of this.
Well,
Why?
Oh, because
Her brother is Lavan.
Lavan.
Bad news. Her
Right,
brother is bad news,
right,
right?
yeah.
Her brother is bad news. Well, our rabbis asked the question, wait a
That's a good
second,
example.
if you're saying that the person's midot, character traits are paramount, and you're saying that, how do we evaluate the young lady's character traits who may be so young that you can't see all that much? Look at her mother's brothers. Okay, Lavan
Yeah,
was a bad
But
news
Ricky,
guy.
but she was very blatant with her chesed, so I don't think
Yeah.
she needs to look at the brothers.
Okay, very good. So our rabbis say as follows. They say that the people of Haran, where Rivka lived, had excellent character traits. It
Right.
says that overall, the character traits of that town or that village were outstanding. Their midot were outstanding. So therefore, Abraham Avinu knew the core principle of finding someone good for his wife. He said the core principle is the midot, the character traits, not the belief in God. He may have found someone, our rabbis say, closer in their belief in God in Eretz Canaan that he did in Haran. But he knew that the character traits are paramount. He knew who the people of Haran were. And to Serene's point, in this case, despite the fact that Lavan was not a good guy, the Torah goes out of its way to talk about what in terms of Rivka when she's introduced to us. Her chesed, right? What's described about her at the watering place? Her chesed, right?
Mhm.
Let me
Getting
take care of
confused,
you.
Ricky.
Let me take care of your animals. Let me this, let me that. Please come back to. So the Torah is going out of its way not to highlight her intelligence, not to highlight her whatever sophistication, maybe understanding of there being one God. Zero. The Torah gives us a very lengthy, almost burdensome account of she runs, she brings the water for him, she brings water for the camels, she invites him home. What are you talking about? The Torah wants to validate Abraham Avinu's perspective, that it's all about the midot, the character traits, and he understood where he was going. And therefore, he sends Eliezer to that place, knowing what he needed to package over there. Good. So.
Wait, Rick, if the mother's a write-off, does that eliminate the process to go to the brothers?
What does that mean, a write-off?
Come on, Ricky. And now
I'm usually 100% with you.
In other words, if you know the mother's like zero, who cares about the brothers? Why are you going to
Very
the
good.
next step? No,
It's true.
I'm joking, but
No,
as
I
always,
think
but I'm
it's a
serious.
real issue, right?
Yeah,
The assumption here, and if the assumption is not the case, then you don't go there. But the
Right.
assumption is
that the mother's good, right?
you can't get that much about the mother. You're not going to learn that much about the mother. So therefore, we look to her brothers. But if the mother is known to have poor character traits, I don't have to go any further than that.
Right,
Right?
okay, good.
So
I like that.
headline is the character traits are the big story, and a parent should be all over that issue, scrutinizing that very, very carefully, maybe testing the kid a little bit, whatever it might be. Okay, let's assume that this young man checks out the character traits of the young lady and sees that they're great, or they're very good. In that case, the rabbi suggests the following. A, slow it down. Slow it down. Give your parents an opportunity to get there. Work on getting them there. And if they can't get there, then go ahead and do it anyway.
Wow.
Wow,
So,
Crazy.
yeah.
wow,
Thing.
that's heavy. But then you don't go with Jiddor's theme that you listen to your parent,
Right. Right.
which is not halakha, but I'm saying that was old world. That
You know
was- yeah.
something? I think it's present world too. I think
Yeah?
it's present world too. Because if she's not haguna, if she's not refined, if she's not a quality person, and your parents have concerns, then of course you heed that. But if you find that she's really a high quality person, and the midot are consistent with your family's midot, then you have the license to gingerly,
Do it.
carefully sensitively move the process forward. So in very present day terms, this is a huge issue. It's a huge issue because in a community like ours, let's say, where pretty much not everybody knows everybody anymore, but you know the background of people, the same litmus test applies, and it's extremely effective and essential. What are the midot of this young person? And there's another element here that I want to raise. You know, we say that a person who lives his or her life a certain way with high quality midot, character traits, and some level of connectedness to Torah has what we call chen. What is chen?
Charm?
Like a
Charm.
favor.
Beautiful, beautiful charm. What, Sarah?
I said in favor and, favor.
Favor,
Yeah.
beautiful. They have a charm that they carry with them, that they walk into the room with. We should sense that as parents or as grandparents in terms of whom our children or grandchildren are bringing home. Because the charm, the chen, is a tip-off to the quality of the person. It's not the whole story, but
Right,
it's a
gift.
tip-off.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's a
If
gift.
a person has chen, if a person has charm, then where does chen come from a Torah perspective? Chen comes from a certain lifestyle. The same way a person becomes a better person as a result of keeping the mitzvot of Kibud Avayim. That's where the Arichut Yamim is, or the Man Yitav Lach, the long life of the good life is, because a person becomes better. A person is different, obviously better, based on the level of midot that he keeps. So you need to dig into that, and we need to get a sense of that from the outside, from the magnetism, from the charisma side of it, what a person walks into the room with. And if at a certain point it becomes clear that the person is haguna, that she has excellent midot, then that's the one you go with.
Wow.
Ricky, what's the difference between midot and mitzvot?
Great. So the mitzvah is something we do to really become better. You know, so the purpose of doing a mitzvah is to make our midot better, is to make our character better, is to make our mind better, is to make our, so the mitzvah is it has a purpose. It builds us, it changes us, hopefully, right? If we engage it intentfully, to your point, Sarah, where we started, if we engage it intentfully. So now you want to be looking at this person in front of you who may or may not do a ton of mitzvot, right? But has done enough to be fine, or just drank the Kool-Aid, because it doesn't know any different. Because mom primarily and dad secondarily had certain midot. Humility. Humility is a natural thing that a child will pick up. Generosity is a natural thing that a child will pick up. Sincerity, honesty. These are things that children will pick up based on a parent's actions. So if the young lady is haguna, then the person is in, and try to avoid a confrontation. Kick the can down the road a little bit, but not too far. Give them a chance to come around. But at the end of the day, if the person is a quality person, then go ahead with the relationship against the parents' wishes.
Wow.
As well. It really is. I never knew that.
Great. All right, let's do a couple more. So what about lying? What
Who?
about lying to mom and dad? What about lying to them? For example, the rabbis give a case of if telling your father something will make him angry at your mother. Telling your father X will make him angry at your mother, or vice versa. The child asks the father for money. The father has the money, gives the child the money. And then no, and the child and the father know that if the mother finds out, she's going to get upset. Now, the reality is the money belongs to the father. The father has the right to give the money wherever he wants. But at the same time, nobody wants to make his mother upset. So the question is, in a situation where there's a two budding halachot. One is kibud av va'em. Let's say to our example, kibud em, respecting the mother. And the second is lying. You're not allowed to lie. So what do we do in that case?
That's like a white lie, not to make the mother.
It ain't no white lie. Let's not even go there. I don't want you to use that term because it makes it a little comfortable. Go straight out that it's a blatant lie.
I don't think you should lie. Me, I don't think you should lie.
Okay. So better to upset my mother or my father than to lie.
Yeah.
What is this concept where we say kala na'ab hasuda? Anybody familiar with that? Kala na'ab hasuda. So our rabbis say you go to a wedding, and what if the bride is really ugly? What if she's just really ugly? Do you go to the groom and say, "Wow, good luck"? What a nice girl, what a beautiful girl. Do you do that? The answer is absolutely. Well, what do you mean? Does anybody in the room think she's beautiful? No, except for the groom. So do you say nothing? No. You say an appropriate level compliment, even to a point where you're lying about her physical beauty, and we call it kala na'a v'hasuda. Your wife to be, huh?
That's different.
Why?
It's totally different. If a
Okay.
father now is making a decision against his wife and lying about it, eventually it's going to come out. And that to me causes more friction in bringing up children than anything.
Okay, I hear it.
I really
Yeah.
think so. It's
Okay.
whitewashing matters. And
Yeah.
it should be, rather that it comes out and they argue it and come to a decision than to lie about it.
Okay, I hear you. It's not the halacha, but maybe to your point, I hear your point very well. Maybe to your point, it's a careful assessment, like you suggested. And if it would be better to have it out now than if it came out later, then maybe you don't. And that's maybe part of the assessment. Will it be more painful now, more painful later? HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us directly in Ben Adam Haverot cases, between man and man cases, when someone's going to be hurt, you're supposed to lie. Where does he tell us that?
Wow.
Very famous case. You guys all know the case. When does he tell us that? Huh?
When? Tell us.
Tell us. You tell me. Come on, Rachel. Been quiet. When does he tell us to do that?
If when Sarah was pregnant, now.
Exactly. Perfect. What happens in that case?
She left, and he told Abraham it wasn't because he was old. Something I don't remember.
Yeah. She
Exactly.
laughs and she says, "That old guy is going to give me a kid. I'm not capable, and he's certainly not capable." Right? Very famous. Everybody knows this case. And what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu relay it over to Abraham Avinu? Rachel, what does he do?
He said
he
she left
skips
that
the
she was
part.
old or something.
Yeah, he skips the part
Uh-huh.
about him, right? Very famous case, very basic case, right? We all know it. Perfect. Good. So what does that mean? What does that mean, Sarah? Abraham would have been hurt. by
Right.
it. So God
What,
himself,
that she left.
that she laughed at her husband. Yeah, he
That
was
is-
only 100. Why is she laughing at him that he shouldn't have a baby?
Because it sounds ridiculous, so she's laughing.
Right. So she could be laughing, right? She has every human right to
Yeah,
laugh,
she is
Right.
human.
right? But
But
Akadosh doesn't, huh?
It's funny.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Serene?
Now,
But I feel like you have the right to like omit things, like not offer certain information. I feel more comfortable like just omitting, like not mentioning something, but to actually lie straight to a person's
right, I
face,
agree.
is like is very hard.
Okay, I hear it. So if you omit something and you didn't tell the whole point, is that considered telling the truth?
No, meaning you didn't share that certain information with someone. It doesn't mean you're lying. You just
Okay.
didn't share the information with them. That I could see as okay, but to actually lie and when they ask you a
Right.
question and lie,
Okay,
it's
Got
a
it.
very hard, it's a hard
Right.
concept.
great. So if
So
mom
Ricky,
asked
Rick,
you,
I
yeah,
learned, I read a book the other day, one of the books I read, and reference to what Serene said, and they call it outcome bias, where someone's giving their opinion, and they basically, it's like Serene, I think, said that you're saying what you want to say, but you're withholding some stuff, so you're not really lying.
Right.
Am I right, Serene? In other
Distorting
words,
the-
Yeah.
you're saying ABC, but that's enough to get you there. But the DEF, they don't have to know right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we do it all the time, all of us.
right, we
That's
do
how-
it all the time. Beautiful.
Yeah, it
But
depends
so
who,
what would
like you say,
call-
like Ricky said, business, personal, husband, wife, kid, everyone has a level of how you're gonna approach the deal, no? Ricky?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. I accept it, 100% accept it. What
Okay,
do you
but
want to
you're
call,
not-
what do you want to call the case? Yeah, Sarah?
No, I'm saying, I understand you're talking to someone, you're conversing with someone, you're giving over your truth, opinions, convincing, but to actually lie about it, to me is a heavy thing.
So what do you want to call when the son doesn't tell the mother that dad gave him the money? Is that an omission or is that a
Right.
lie?
That's a
I'm
lie.
okay either way.
That's a
I-
lie.
I like that. I
I
like that.
think
It's
it's
an
I think it's an
omission.
omission unless the
It's an
son, unless the
omission.
mother asks, unless the mother
Right,
says,
that's
did you
it.
take the money? Then it's
Right.
an
The
omission.
mother asks, what do you want to do if the mother
Then
asks?
it's a lie.
Okay,
It's a
got it.
lie. Then it's a
Then
lie.
And what do you
it's a
want
lie,
to do
yeah.
with that? Do you want to lie or not?
No, that's the omission's knocked out on that one.
I want you
Yeah.
guys to think about it right.
Like Ricky, I have an example. Like when my grandma, she's is older, and she gets upset when my mother leaves town, and she gets nervous if she knows my mother's not in town. So my mother won't tell her that she's in Brooklyn visiting me because she knows
Very
it's going to
good.
upset my grandma. And when she
Very
hangs up the
good.
phone, she says, I can't. I have to just tell her I'm doing errands in New Jersey because she's going to get so nervous and upset that I'm not in
And
town.
she's right. And she's right.
Right.
And I'm
but that's
okay with that
different.
because she's
Yeah, me
older
too.
and
I don't
you
know
know,
why,
that-
but it's different.
But
that's-
that's a perfect case. She's not telling the
Yeah.
truth, right?
no, she's not.
Or she's not telling the truth. So it gets a little bit slippery and it's
Yeah.
a little bit, who is the classic, excuse me for saying this, but who is the classic person who did this in Torah? Who do they say is a classic person who did this, classic figure who did this?
I feel like Abraham did this also with Sarah. Didn't he
Abraham
lie?
definitely-
He lied straight
yeah.
out to that
Lied,
she was a
yes.
sister.
Yes.
That's
She
right.
was
He
a
did it. He did it a couple
Oh, yeah.
times, right?
Yeah.
Great. Who is the guy who
Aharon.
epitomizes it? Who?
Aharon.
Husband
Uh,
to the war.
Well, that was a little bit worse, I would say.
David.
Who did you say? I heard it. Who
David,
was
yeah,
it?
was it David with Bathsheba?
David.
No, you
No,
said it before.
it was Aharon.
It was Aharon. What did Aharon used to do?
We do.
Oh, he used to tell one
Yeah,
person
he
that
would
she
make
wants to
peace,
make
yeah.
up with you and they want to make up with you.
Right.
And
That's right. Was that straight out and out lie? The guy hated his guts and couldn't stand him. And the last thing he wanted to do was to talk to him. Aaron would go to David and say, David, I just spoke to the Reuven. He really feels bad about it. He wants to clear the air with you. It's been 35 years, whatever it is. It's been 10 minutes. And he really wants to clear the air. And
Okay,
the Reuven hated the guy's guts.
Maybe
Right.
that's L'Shem Shamayim.
Beautiful. I hear that, Sarah. Good. It's because there's an overarching need and opportunity, which is to bring peace. And you're absolutely right. My example is not on the same level because it's about bringing peace. And to bring peace, you go even further than to maintain a good relationship between people. But you might say that the case with the mom and dad is also a little bit about peace. You might say that, right? You might say that by not telling the mom this thing, I'm maintaining a level of peace between them. You might say it. So
You see, Ricky, you don't know. Moms find out everything. That's basically what it's all about.
that's
all right,
true.
now that's something else.
Come out.
I don't see that in the book here. I gotta look it up.
That's Sarah's book. That's
You gotta
Sarah's.
read between the lines.
That's the most important book. That's it. All right, so think about this thing.
We're
Think
like
about this thing.
investigators, FBI.
That's true.
Yeah, I hear
But-
it.
But Ricky,
Yeah.
what are the laws about lying? Like what, like as far as halakhically, like do you?
So I want to do a full class on it. Okay, I want to do a full class on it. Maybe we'll actually do it next week. I want to do a full class on it. I was debating back and forth, do it, don't do it, but there's a lot to talk about. So I think we should do it. Chaim Vajah himself has, I don't know, maybe 20 pages on just this issue in this context of parents. So it's a very big issue. So let's do it. Let's spend a week on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good for that. But for now, go just in your minds, struggle with the following. Struggle with the idea that to build peace between people, do I lie? Yes or no? Maybe. The answer is yes. To make a person feel good about someone he's already invested in. You're not talking about someone who's invested in, who's going to hurt him, who's going to swindle him or something like that, but someone to whom he's given his love or his care. Do I lie? Yes. Do I lie to keep peace between parents? Yes. Now, I think to Sarah's point, if it's sort of a guarantee that it's going to come out and it's going to blow up, okay, so we need to think about that. We need to mitigate it. But in Ben Adam L'Havero, between man and man, the other person's feelings and peace are paramount. And Sarah, you started with the point of a white lie, and Serena, you mentioned the point of an omission. And I think we know very well as parents that we are the kings of omissions, because flip it the other way from parent to child. How many things do we do where the child never knows we did it? Where one child is helping another child, but it's really us that's helping the other child through the other child, because the one child being helped doesn't want help from the parents. Well, what do you mean? Shouldn't the parent come out and say, I'm the one who gave that money to Bob to give it to Bill? The answer is no. Well, what do you mean? Isn't that truth? It is truth, but we don't care about truth in this case. We care about the person's feelings.
You have to have the right vehicle to get to the kid. That's the vehicle.
That's it. So
Right.
if it's about the right vehicle, then I leave truth on the side and I do the vehicle. And that's the point. And that's yeah.
So when we use the word, like when we think of like Torah, emet, like what we think truth is not really essentially what it is, right? Is that what you're
That's
saying?
right. That's perfect. That's exactly right. The emet that we talk about has nothing to do with behavior. It has to do with God's absolute truth, which is not the world we live in. We don't live in a world of absolute truth. And I think if you guys think about it as parents and grandparents, some of you grandparents, you will realize how many times you've either omitted or you've lied in order to enhance a child's self-esteem, in order to enhance the relationship between children, in order to say that this kid helped this kid because that enhanced their thing, where really it came from you or your spouse, right? We do that all the time. And it's the right thing to do. And to your point, Serene, emet is one thing and one thing only. It's God's absolute truth, His absolute objective truth. And that's right. That's what we strive for. But interestingly, the not being truthful sometimes allows us to get there. You know, it allows us to get there. You know, let's say I'll bring it one or two other quick examples. Let's say you're working on, I'm sure you guys have all done this at one time or many times, you're working on putting two people back together, right? There's a conflict between two people in the family, in the community, whatever it might be, wherever they might be. Do you spill the beans to both sides? Do you fess up? Of course not. Do you say everything that the other person said? Everything that the other person felt?
No.
Never. Do you filter? Do you lie? 100%. And what is God doing while you're doing that? He's standing up and applauding. Because of your cleverness. You know, Chokhmah is orma. Chokhmah means to be clever. To just spill my guts and to fish elbow, and we don't do those things. We're clever. We're careful. We editorialize. We do by design, by command. Because building another human being is the most important thing in the world. Nothing more important. So building, I was just involved in something recently. I hope we resolved it tonight. It's been going on for months with one person in the community and an institution in the community. And can I say that I told the whole truth, all this, nothing but the truth to either side? Absolutely not. Because if I did, they would be killing each other much more than they are now. I think we got it resolved. They were very far apart, and it was very, very rough and all the way around. I think we got it to a good place now. And why? Because what this guy said, I told over 20%, and I sugarcoated it. And what those guys said, I deleted 90%. And okay, are they going to love each other? No. But are they going to stop the war? I think so. So did it have value?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So with mom and dad, we do the same thing. It's trickier. You have to be careful. But to Serene's point, if a grandparent will worry because somebody is further away, you got to think very carefully about that. And truth, you don't want them to worry. You just don't want them to worry.
No.
So in that case, do you not tell the whole thing? Yeah, you don't tell the whole thing. Does that make you, do you do this as a chatchila, something you want to do in a first level of practice? Obviously not. But this is where thinking about people and their needs becomes paramount. Let me think about the person and his or her needs. Let me think about his or her emotional state. And then let me make a decision. You know, why does a parent often go, you go help your sister, not me. Why? Can't the parent effectively help the sister? Why is it better if a sister helps her? Because
Wants her to learn.
Maybe
She
to
wants-
learn, to
she
help,
wants
right?
her
Maybe it would be emotionally less challenging for that daughter who's getting helped if it came from her sister and not from her mother. We have to think about that,
1000%,
right?
1000%.
Yeah. So those are all white lies, right?
You're
But
right. You're right.
that's where we want to be,
White lies.
if you want to call them that. I don't even want to call them white lies. I want to call
No,
them
because
straight
the
up.
funny thing is, I happen to have been thinking about lying, about the concept of lying. And I always thought when you were lying, or a person was lying, they're really just lying to God. They're not
No.
really lying to the person. They're lying in front of God, and it's not a way to
Right.
be.
Great. God is saying like this, Sarah, can you build more love or more understanding between person A and person B? And you say, yeah, God, I think I can. And he says, do what you got to do.
But
Do what
that's
you
like,
gotta
again,
do.
you said, that's Lishem Shamayim, but there's other kinds of lying that.
Okay, yeah. And that's to Serene's question. We'll do a full class on it. You can do more than one, but let's do a full class on it. But I want you to know in the context of the headline context of family or ben adam hamiro, between man and man,
that
go
white-
for peace and rebuilding another human being first and accuracy second.
Right.
Yeah.
But Ricky, also, based on what Sarah said and her point, excuse me, and what you brought out in the class, wouldn't you break it down to, let's say, the word lying, let's just say sugarcoat the word lying for the sake of resolve, and lying, outright lie for harm, say husband, wife, brother, sister, parent, child, whatever. Where you're saying you went to this guy, the guy's in the shul, the other guy's a Syrian guy, and they had a blowout. So you sugarcoated both stories in the effort for peace. But now if Sammy Syrian went to Sally Syrian and outright lied, that's a different deal than is what's the result.
It really depends what the overarching story was.
Uh-huh.
What was the overarching thing? So your point is right, but take it one step further. If there's an overarching goal of making someone complete, of protecting someone's fears, of
Then you got a
bringing
green light?
back together, then yeah, you have a green light.
Okay,
I wish
good.
I could draw on your phrases as quickly as you do.
You should.
Someday I will. Right now I
Listen,
don't, but I wish I could. I should write them
very
down.
simple. If you want
Irwinisms. I'm gonna call them Irwinisms.
That's it. But if you have any issue, Sarah's my translator. That's not a problem.
I love it.
I wish, Erwin, I can't keep up with you anymore.
Right.
Hang in, Sarah. I need you.
Good.
I need you.
You're too funny.
Any other thoughts? Any other?
No, that was great. That was great.
No,
All right.
that
Thanks.
was so.
Great to see everybody.
That was
Very
great.
interesting.
Very
Thanks.
interesting.
Class.
Thank you.
Have a
Carol,
great
great
week,
to have you
everybody.
back. Feel good.
I wish you
Okay.
gave us this class when we still had parents.
Yeah. Well, now you got kids and grandkids, so you're gonna
That's
be
true.
using it a lot.
That's true. That's true. But I
Right.
really wish I knew this then, because
Right.
it's really,
All right,
like
we'll teach
Erwin
it
would
to
say, a
kids.
game changer.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a game changer.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Joy,
All right.
thank
That was
you.
great.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Thanks,
week,
Ricky.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.